If you had to use one word which sums up today's gospel passage, it would have to be the word extravagance. What we almost certainly do not catch sight of, though, is how many extravagances are contained in this short passage. The main reason is because our gospel passage comes to us from a world that's not easy for us to imagine. Even the first people to hear John's gospel would have been utterly shocked as they listened to the words of this scene being read to them in their small Christian communities. And over the course of the next few minutes, I hope you will better be able to feel something of that shock for yourself. Before making progress on that, though, I want to tell you about a remarkable woman, and we will come back to her again briefly at the end of this sermon. The woman's name is Alison Hargreaves. Despite being just 5'2", Alison Hargreaves was hailed as one of the greatest mountain climbers in the world. At the age of 26, she successfully scaled the formidable north face of the Eiger in Switzerland. What was especially remarkable about this climb was the fact that Alison was 6 months pregnant at the time. Of course, many people criticised her for climbing a formidable mountain 6 months into her pregnancy with her first child. Alison's response was blunt. "I was pregnant, not sick." Alison went on to make history as the first woman to climb to the summit of Mount Everest completely on her own and without supplementary oxygen. Not long after that remarkable triumph, Alison conquered Pakistan's fearsome K2. But during the descent, Alison and her 5 companions were lost in a blizzard. They all perished. When Alison's husband received the terrible news, he simply said, "I can hear her repeating her favourite saying, 'A single day as a tiger is better than 1,000 years as a sheep.'" I've told you about Alison because the Jesus of the Gospels seems to enjoy the Alison Hargreaves of this world. And his encounter with Mary of Bethany at the house of Lazarus and Martha underlines this. Jesus is about to have a meal with Lazarus and Martha and a gang of friends. Mary, the sister of Martha and Lazarus, takes a very significant amount of expensive and exquisite perfume, and she pours it over Jesus' feet. Meanwhile, lurking in the background is Judas Iscariot, and he has clearly got a better sense of the market value of Mary's perfume, better than anyone else. Judas estimates, according to several English translations of the Bible, that the perfume is worth 300 denarii. Now, 300 denarii is the equivalent of 1 year's pay. The current average annual salary in the UK is about £30,000. So, Mary was pouring out the equivalent of £30,000 worth of perfume. No wonder Judas protests. The voice of Judas, though, is the voice of so many people like us. It is an outrageous sum of money. Try to imagine, better still, try to feel The jaw-dropping scene in the room. Imagine and feel the sheer mesmeric fascination of seeing £30,000 worth of perfume being poured out. Where on earth did Mary get the money to buy such a large quantity of perfume? That's a lot of savings. And then something even more shocking happens. It is so shocking, people almost don't know where to look, I imagine. Mary is kneeling at and touching Jesus' feet. Let me try to help you feel how utterly shocking was this behaviour of Mary that day. Imagine the scene where you're at a coffee morning with some of your friends, and several of you notice that one of your male friends has his hand up the skirt of your friend and is massaging her upper inner thigh. That is how shocking this scene is. It is a disgraceful public performance. It is an unbelievable waste of money. No wonder Judas is indignant. Ignoring the shocking nature of Mary's behaviour, Judas protests. Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and the money given to the poor? Whatever his personal motives, you miss the force of this story unless you recognise that Judas has a very important point. Also, it's not just that this is a lot of money and it could benefit a lot of people. The Jerusalem temple, as well as being the key place where Jews could find their sins forgiven, was also the centre of a bureaucracy which managed welfare on behalf of the poor. Excuse me, I have a cold. So, Judas isn't just being mean or greedy. He's saying, we have a system for managing welfare, and this woman's behaviour has just driven a coach and horses through it, and in such a disgraceful, profligate, and insulting manner. What on earth does she think she is doing? And more importantly, Jesus, what on earth do you think you are doing by letting her? Judas offers us the voice of common sense, the voice of decency, the voice of public order. Don't waste precious money and resources. Don't step too close to the boundaries of proper relations between the genders. Don't bypass the very carefully thought out systems for providing welfare benefits for those who are poor. Now, who among us would disagree with Judas? He has all the vocabulary that makes our lives function. Stewardship, policies and procedures, bylaws, strategic plans. Through this incident, John the Gospel writer is also pointing out how it is that Judas is not seeing the most important thing staring him in the face. He cannot see the one thing that Mary alone can see. Jesus is going to die very soon. In fact, the Gospel writer's main point here is that apart from Mary, no one else is seeing it either. So what might John the Gospel writer be saying to us through his presentation of this incident? I wonder if you've ever been in a group or in a relationship where everyone else is so preoccupied, so taken up with themselves or the usual way of doing things that you felt like taking all your clothes off and screaming at the top of your voice just to get their attention. Well, that's pretty much what Mary does in this scene. And even when she does, all that happens is that Judas points out that she is completely out of order. Jesus, though, says, "But don't you see, Mary is behaving just like me." She is demonstrating the extravagance of human love. Mary has poured out her whole self, financial, social, emotional. She's poured it all out to gain your attention by a gesture of sheer beauty. I am demonstrating the extravagance of divine love. I'm pouring out my whole self, physical, spiritual, metaphysical. I'm pouring it all out to gain your attention by a gesture of sheer beauty. I am the extravagance of God. And if you're taking no notice of Mary, then how much more heartbreaking it is that you're taking no notice of me. As we prepare ourselves for the climax of Lent, Holy Week, we are confronted by two uncomfortable but very necessary questions. We could call them the Judas question and the Mary question. First, the Judas question. What's the thing you are not able or willing to see? Or to put it another way, what is it that God would love to help you see? And then the Mary question. What is the beautiful thing you are being called to do? Or to put it another way, how might you imitate the extravagance of God? When other people see your life, what do they see? In the words of Judas, do they see a criminal waste? And if they do, is that waste one that mimics Judas's meanness or Mary's extravagance? Judas, Mary, and Jesus all wasted their lives in different ways. The Gospel writer's pointed metaphor is for all of us. Have you wasted your life in caution or in love? When people see the waste of your life, does it make them think like Judas or like Jesus? It's 2 weeks until Easter. It is the time we call Passiontide. As we make early progress through this Passiontide, consider the Judas and the Mary question. The Judas question. What is it, with all my busyness and politeness and professionalism, what is the thing I'm desperately failing to recognise? And the Mary question. What is the beautiful thing I am being called to do? Embarrassing, extravagant, or crazy as it may be. Alison Hargreaves knew her passion. She knew the danger her passion might put her in, but, like a tiger, she let that passion lead her life. The God we see in Jesus of Nazareth does that. You, with all your failings and imperfections, you are the extravagant passion of God. God's expensive, gorgeous, fragrant, crazy, and ultimately useless and wasteful extravagance is you. The good news for us all on this fifth Sunday in Lent is this. Although you and all others will never deserve it, God will never regret pouring out and wasting everything God is for you.